Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. It is the beginning of the year, and the beginning of the year marks new beginnings for pretty much everybody. This is when New Year's resolutions and so on come out, which we all know don't have a very good statistical record of success. But what I wanted to spend 5 minutes on today is just to talk, to bring us all back to the importance of habits and routines. I was listening to an interview with James Clear. I've been a follower and been reading James Clear's posts now for 7 or more years. And there was a summary of his thoughts that I thought were completely in line with what we have to do as traders in the business, and is based, stuff that I've noticed based on my experience with myself growing as a trader, struggling as a trader early on, twice, once in equities and once in futures, learning futures. And a lot of what he says actually helped me kind of see through the difficulty of making a turn, and through the dark times when I felt like this can't be done, or this isn't worth my time, and so on. And I'm glad I stuck with it. So what I want to start with is to say the emphasis always has to be on consistency. This is really important. Um, yes, we all want to come in here and make, $2.5 million a year trading, and do it from a laptop off of a yacht somewhere in Barbados or whatever, and just trade an hour and a half a day to sustain a high standard of living and all that. The pipe dream, which can be a reality, or it can be a nightmare, but what we have to focus on to get there, that's just the bamboo once it gets above the surface, and starts to show. There's a lot that needs to happen underneath. It's like an iceberg. There's a ton that needs to happen underneath for that tip to show above the ocean surface. And the hallmark of what it takes, and it doesn't matter what the discipline is. You could be Kobe Bryant, Stephen Curry, or any of these, Ronaldo or Messi, or whatever your sport is. What we end up seeing is what's brought to our attention, which is an extremely high level of skill, and what we call talent, which I do not believe in a thing called talent. I just don't believe it. We're all capable of being talented. It's just a function of where we're investing our time, which is something I want to discuss here briefly. So what does that take? Before it shows up on the surface, before we see that awesome, curved kick, penalty, not penalty, but a foul kick into the goal that curves out and hits the corner of the goal post, all that stuff, there is a lot of work that doesn't show up, that we're not aware of, that somebody's doing right now who's going to be a future star. And it all boils down to small, incremental, habitual changes that serve a purpose, and almost immeasurable, with an almost immeasurable results, but are necessary, that are done consistently. James Clear says that we generally go for intensity. We want to lose weight, so we want to get on this 7-day fast. We want to go travel, so we're going to do a global tour. And what he says is very true. He says intensity makes a good story, captures an audience, but consistency is what makes progress. And we're here day in, day out as traders to make incremental progress. In order to make incremental progress, we have to make incremental changes. So if you're coming into 2020 with the same exact approach and habits, and the same errors and the same vices and the same discipline issues, your results and my results will be exactly the same as what they were for the period that we've used this, for the last year, 2, 10, whatever it is. So one of the most important things we have to keep in mind for this year is, in order to get consistent improvement, which is the theme of the year, in order to get consistent improvement, we have to start breaking down those things, and those things that have a long-term productive value. We have to start breaking those down and doing them in small enough uh, pieces that we can build momentum towards building better habits and to improve over time. And so that these things become easy things to do. An example of that is that he uses is, you want to get to the gym 6 days a week. Well, most people sit down and come up with a gym routine, and they'll prepare their bag the night before, and then they'll get up at 5 a.m. and then they'll go to the gym, and they'll have a hard workout, and they'll feel great. Then the next day they're more tired. By the third day, they're kind of exhausted and worn out. His approach is, well, you want to get to the gym consistently, make it an atomic habit, make it a small habit just to start the momentum. Put your clothes on, go to the gym, show up, sit around for 2 minutes and come home. That's good enough. And then eventually, while you're there, you might just jump on a treadmill for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, very, very easy. Pack up your stuff and go home. You'll feel good about yourself. You'll start to see some changes, and then again and again. So how do we translate that into trading? One, and hopefully you're taking notes. One, there's very little time that we have to do this. So get rid of those things that are not paying you. So if you're aware that a certain setup or a certain time of day does not provide a fruitful result, get rid of it. Those trades in the middle of the day that have a negative expectancy that you keep doing, get rid of them. They're not worth your time. They're not worth your effort. You could use that time to do something else. That trade that attempts to catch bottoms and tops, that we're constantly buying sell-offs and selling rallies, get rid of those trades. Make it so that when you act in the market, it is for a clear purpose. And the way to get there is to make it so that you simply take all of the stuff on your screen and make it so that it is as simple as possible and gives you something that is very, very easy to follow. That doesn't require a whole lot. People might start looking at order flow when they still don't have a trading plan. By doing that, we're creating a lot of complexity and a lot of noise. And instead, let's look at uh, let's look at you know let's look at trading something a lot simpler, an opening range breakout, maybe waiting for the initial balance after an hour and trading towards the initial balance for the IB stat, things like that. And then once we've got that down, we can start adding some complexity, adding order flow and things like that. I don't know what it is, because there's so many ways to skin the market. There are people who may only make money during the lunch hours when it's quiet, as they work the book as a almost like a market maker. I don't know what the right answer is for you, but let's start making habits, small habits that help us in our goal to be patient, to wait for the market to set up, to take trades and let them play out. So I'll start you up with one that you may want to take on. For the next week, every trade you take, once you take it, you don't touch the mouse. You set your bracket, your targets, or target and your stop, and you just let the trade go. This is a small thing, a simple thing that you can do that requires quite a bit of effort, in that we always think we're smarter once the trade is on. We think we can see more than we actually see. So make it consistent, make it small, rather than big changes, new plan, new equipment, new markets, new whatever. Make it small. And then the last step, probably the most important step, is to track that performance so that because we don't see our results immediately, what we need to do is put together a good record so that we can build on that performance and troubleshoot the positives and the negatives of it. It's almost like building a trading algo or something like that, where you're working off the bugs, and as bugs are discovered, you'll see them in your journaling, you'll see them in your trade log. Look, you don't even have to have a journal, honestly. If you're not so inclined, just create a trade log. Create a trade log that tells you trade by trade by trade what your performance is, what your win percent is, what your expectancy is. Did you get stopped? How often do you get fully stopped? If I ask anyone here, how often do you get a full stop without a scale out? Most people won't know, and that's a very important number to have. Things like that. Anyway, I'll leave you with that thought. It's a new year. Just make it different. Make it different. If the results of last year were not to your taste, let's make this year better by making it different.